On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. We've got some major news to talk about today. We got Elon Musk doing some more shenanigans, taking it a step further, and I think, frankly, it's just absolutely throwing another nail into his own foot, or shooting his own foot, either way. Also, we've got some interesting news how it seems California and New York are actually starting to back away from some of these environmental policies. They're, of course, miring it in other lies, but they don't want to admit that they're losing this fight. They're going to continue, obviously, to try to be dicks, but it doesn't look like they're going to be successful at it. Also, big news being released about Epstein. This is going to make a lot of news. A lot of people are going to be spinning this all over the place. I'm going to do my best to give it a fair assessment, give it a fair shake. I think we've got to be very careful with the words they choose. I think a lot of people are going to go running with this. They're going to misquote it. Give me a chance to kind of, I don't know, give my explanation on it. We'll see what happens. You know, you guys might disagree, might agree. We'll see where we get to on that. But all said, coming up, got a lot of good stuff going on. The world is changing and changing quickly. Pediatrician fired for a vile post suggesting the Texas flood victims were Trump supporters who got what they voted for. Pediatrician Dr. Christina B. Probst, well, she's been fired from her job. She said, quote, and she's deleted this since, said, quote, may all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. And then I think she continued on, Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts. There you go. That's how the left sees things. Just loving people, aren't they? They're so inclusive. No, they're not. They're most exclusive people ever. Unless you fit into their little club, then they're inclusive. Otherwise, they're dicks. All of them. It's unfortunate. 81 people dead so far. That's this horrible Texas flood that apparently is just affecting MAGA. Cloud seeding startup denies involvement. I'm sure a lot of people are spinning that as well. I've seen that already, I should say. I don't disagree with their thought process. I will say the denial is that, well, for the day of and the day before, we weren't doing anything in the area. Okay, but were you doing anything upwind from that area, be it the day before or even 2 days before? Like, I don't know. They say they're being open about it all. I think Augustus Dorico, I think, is somehow involved with this group. It said Rainmaker did not operate in the affected area on the 3rd or 4th or contribute to the floods that occurred over the region. We're just going to take their word for it, I guess, right? So, again, they're trying to be forthcoming with information. I, like many of us, just don't trust. I don't understand why they're doing this type of stuff. I think it should stop. Again, there's something to be said about helping rain. There's been droughts. Rainmaking has been done. There's a really fun story back in like the teens, 1910, 1920, somewhere around there. Some dude was going around and he was like burning some stuff, and it was just creating chemicals and thusly would cause it to rain. They did it in a number of places. In fact, one place they did it so successfully it caused flooding. So it's been done for a long time. Whether it's, good, bad, or indifferent, it's, again, timing's everything, it seems. Secretary Kristi Noem put this out. United States Coast Guard rescue swimmers and Petty Officer Scott Ruskin directly saved an astonishing 165 victims in the devastating flooding in central Texas. This was the first rescue mission of his career, and he was the only triage coordinator at the scene. Scott Ruskin is an American hero. His selfless courage embodies the spirit and mission of USCG. Oops, there we go. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent trashes Larry Summers for politicizing Texas flood. He calls him feckless and deeply offensive. He was speaking with ABC News, apparently. This is what this Summers guy was saying. He goes, this big, beautiful bill is going to lead to 2,000 days of death like we've seen in Texas this weekend. The Yale Budget Lab estimates that it will kill over 10 years, 100,000 people, Summers is telling George Stephanopoulos. Very responsible. This dude's supposedly the ex-president of Harvard. Yeah, sounds like a real numbnut. Says that's 2,000 days of death like we've seen in Texas this weekend. Today, former Treasury Secretary L.H. Summers showed why he was forced to step down as president of Harvard, a lack of humanity in judgment, Scott Bessent wrote. He also continued in a shockingly callous interview on this week's ABC Professor Summers proclaimed that the one big beautiful bill will cause 2,000 days of death like we've seen in Texas this weekend. Using the horrifying situation in Texas for cheap political gain is unfathomable. It's really not. Every time there's a shooting, they use it for political gain. Every time, there's a disaster with weather, they use it for political gain. That's just what they do. It is horrible. It's unfathomable, I guess, from that standpoint. It's like, what was the Princess Bride says, and the guys, the Spaniards, like, I don't think that word means, right? Inconceivable, right? Inconceivable. And he's like, I do not think that word means what you think it means. I kind of feel like that's the usage of unfathomable here. Like, no, I can fathom this. This feels right up their normal path. He continued, though. Such remarks are feckless and deeply offensive. Professor Summers should immediately issue a public apology for his toxic language. I hope the nonprofit and for-profit institutions with which he is affiliated will join me in this call. If he is unwilling or unable to acknowledge the cruelty of his remarks, they should consider Harvard's example and make his unacceptable rhetoric grounds for dismissal. Hopefully we can see those types of things happen. From that nasty fireworks stand, or it wasn't a stand, it was a warehouse explosion that happened in Northern California, I think Friday-ish, Saturday, somewhere around there. 7 people that were missing, their bodies have been recovered. They're passed away. We don't have names yet because they were still working on commenting to families to let them know what had happened. So very sad. 7 people lost their lives in that tragedy. Mexico City protest against American expat invasion turns violent. I mean, this is kind of messed up, certainly. This is horrible, certainly. What I find very funny, though, funny, very funny. So this is what they're all saying, all the people in Mexico, because they got pissed. They got all these expats living in these couple of specific neighborhoods, essentially. And they went in with numbers. They were trashing businesses, trashing people. I think they threatened harm, or maybe even did harm some. And their complaint, gringo, stop stealing our home. Huh. You don't want us stealing your home down there in Mexico. Interesting. Mexico for Mexicans. Huh. That's weird. Pay taxes, speak Spanish, use pesos, or get out of here. Wow. Doesn't that sound oddly familiar to how we feel here about illegal migrants? Death to the neo-colonizer. Interesting. We don't use words even near that strong for all the people that refuse to become part of the American system, run around with Mexican flags and things like that. Colonizers, I think we could call that. Expat equals gentrifier. Okay. I mean, that's not necessarily what's happening here. We've got younger people coming here, not necessarily old folks heading down there. So, I get that argument. Your new home is an invasion. Wait, what? Doesn't that sound like what's happening here in the United States? Gentrification equals neocolonization. To gentrify isn't progress, it's dispossession, and we shouldn't feel like foreigners in our own land. I'm just saying the irony is beautiful. Musk explains why he changed his stance on Trump. He said increasing the deficit from an already insane $2 trillion under Biden to $2.5 trillion, this will bankrupt the country. Now, first off, Elon Musk said he'd find $1 trillion worth of savings, and I think it was close to $200 billion. So pretty far cry from what he was claiming. That was about 20%. So would have been nice to have gotten some more of those savings there, big guy, had you been able to find them and do what you said you were going to do, which you didn't. You failed, Elon Musk. Yeah, I know that's not something you're used to admitting or having people say to you, but you, in fact, failed pretty badly. You know, you could get pissed at Trump for increasing the debt by, well, about 25% based off the $2 trillion it was. Now it's $2.5 trillion, so it's gone up about 25% from what it was. You claimed $1 trillion and you found a fifth of that. You found 20% of that. And you're bitching about this small increase where I think we're going to get things under control because obviously tariffs, obviously trade's going to happen. We're obviously going to be manufacturing more here in the States. Trillions and trillions of dollars of infrastructure being built are going to be happening. So again, a lot of things are going to improve. I'm not going to keep fighting the fight. Eventually it's going to demonstrate itself. So Elon Musk's American Party did in fact finally register. This did not help Elon Musk. In fact, it hurt his stock prices quite a lot. Now, Elon Musk is saying he has nothing to do with this, maybe on paper, but technically it is the CEO of SpaceX that started it, quote unquote, and they are using the SpaceX address of 1 Rocket Road, Hawthorne, California, as the address for the new party, the American Party, as they're calling it, AMEP. So there's that. Donald Trump, of course, had comments to say on Truth. I am saddened to watch Elon Musk go completely off the rails, essentially becoming a train wreck over the past 5 weeks. He even wants to start a third political party, despite the fact that they have never succeeded in the United States. The system seems not designed for them. The one thing third parties are good for is the creation of complete and total disruption and chaos. And we have had enough of that with the radical left Democrats who have lost their confidence and their minds. Republicans, on the other hand, are a smooth-running machine that just passed the biggest bill of its kind in the history of our country. It is a great bill, but unfortunately for Elon, it eliminates the ridiculous electric vehicle mandate, which would have forced everyone to buy an electric car in a short period of time. I have been strongly opposed to that from the very beginning. People are now allowed to buy whatever they want, gasoline-powered, hybrids, which are doing very well, or new technologies as they come about. No more EV mandate. I have campaigned on this for 2 years, and quite honestly, when Elon gave me his total and unquestioned endorsement, I asked him whether or not he knew that I was going to terminate the EV mandate. It was in every speech I made and in every conversation I had. He said he had no problems with that. I was very surprised. Additionally, Elon asked that one of his close friends run NASA, and while I thought his friend was very good, I was surprised to learn that he was a blue-blooded Democrat who has never contributed to a Republican before. Elon probably was also. I also thought it inappropriate that a very close friend of Elon, who was in the space business, run NASA, when NASA is such a big part of Elon's corporate life. My number one charge is to protect the American public. Treasury Secretary Bessent pours cold water on Musk's new political party. Says the principles of Doge were very popular. I think if you looked at the polling, Elon was not, Scott told CNN. Bessent, who reportedly clashed with Musk, we've heard the story, quite possibly is the one who gave him the black eye. He goes, I believe that the boards of directors at his various companies wanted him to come back and run those companies, which he is better at than anyone, Bessent said. So I imagine that those boards of directors did not like this announcement yesterday and will be encouraging him to focus on business activities, not his political activities. Musk announced the new party on Saturday on X. When it comes to bankrupting our country with waste and graft, we live in a one-party system, not a democracy, Musk wrote. Today, the American Party is formed to give you back your freedom. Yeah, I doubt that very much, unfortunately. Wall Street responds to America Party. Musk denies calling the party filing fake news. Well, filings happened. It's legit. And it's tied to someone directly tied to you, Musk. So who's lying now? Again, we understand you have a bit of a drug problem. I'd love to see you get that figured out, buddy. But yeah, Tesla stock's already down 22% to the year as of Thursday's close. It's poised to lose another 7% in the pre-market trading of the futures this morning. I haven't exactly pulled it up today to see where it's at the moment, but obviously this is not going to help Tesla stock. And the big problem really that this is doing is the left is already pissed at him because of him helping support Trump and the free speech platform X. And then now Musk has shat all over the MAGA people and caused essentially chaos because of his strict feelings about how things are supposed to work out. Basically being like Massey, being like Thomas Massey. That's what Musk is doing right now. He's being like Thomas Massey, and I just frankly don't think that works. Tesla sales have dropped 60% in Germany in June. Overall in the year, they're doing really horribly. In fact, they've seen 6 straight months of declining sales in France, Sweden, Denmark, and Italy. Doesn't have anything to do with what Trump just did, does it? No. This has everything probably to do with what Musk has been doing, supporting the MAGA movement. Then he finally went back to work like he was supposed to, and then decides to piss off the MAGA people. Good job, Musk. You are, seriously, train wreck is about as accurate as we can give you. Here is Rep. James Comer. He's talking about these people that are going to be people close to Biden. that they are now subpoenaing, and they have to come in. Trump did the same thing that Biden did and dropped executive privilege, so none of these guys can claim executive privilege. Biden didn't have any say in the matter. Trump did exactly what Biden did and took that from them. So now if they don't answer questions, they're in contempt of Congress. If they lie, they've lied to Congress. Both of those things can and will put them in jail. And we know our Justice Department is going to do exactly that. Check out James Comer.
I don't think Biden knew what was happening. I think that the Europen is one of the biggest scandals in the history of this country, because the person that operated the Europen was the President of the United States. And I think that that's going to be sought out, and we're going to find out what happened.
President Trump last weekend on Sunday Morning Futures discussing former President Biden's mental fitness while in office. The House Oversight Committee is now expanding its investigation into Biden's alleged mental decline. It is set to interview 5 members of the Biden administration, including former Chief of Staff Ron Klain, former counselor to the president Steve Ricchetti, former senior advisor to the president Mike Donilon, former Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Bruce Reed, and former senior advisor to the president for communications Anita Dunn. The committee will also get a deposition from Biden's former physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, this week. Joining me now with more on all of this is my second favorite House Oversight Committee Chairman, James Comer. Chairman, thanks so much for joining us here on Sunday Morning Futures. I say that because I used to be the chairman, so you're definitely ahead of Trey Gowdy. I can promise you that. Tell us, though, seriously, where are you at with this investigation? Tell us where you're at with this investigation and who's up next.
Dr. O'Connor is scheduled to come in Wednesday for a deposition. We asked him to come in, and he agreed to come in a few weeks ago. Then he declined the night before. So I issued him a subpoena. We're serious about this investigation. You heard from President Trump on this show last week. This is something that he's very interested in. Pam Bondi has announced an investigation at the Department of Justice into the illegal use of the auto pen. So we're very interested. Dr. O'Connor's going to come in. We have a lot of questions about the health reports that he would issue to the American people about Joe Biden that I don't think anyone in America, including the most liberal person on MSNBC or the biggest Democrat in America, believes that Joe Biden was anywhere near as healthy as Dr. O'Connor would continuously publish. So we've been consulting with Ronnie Jackson, who's a member of Congress and who was President Trump's doctor during his first term in the White House. We have a lot of medical questions. We have a lot of legal questions for Dr. O'Connor. So he's going to have an opportunity Wednesday to come and tell the truth and explain how he continuously issued glowing reports of health from Joe Biden.
Tell us a little bit about Anthony Bernal. He's the former chief of staff to Jill Biden, the first lady. He was supposed to come in and chat with the committee as well. Yeah, and that's another issue that we've had. He did not come in. What's happened, Jason, is President Trump waived executive privilege. And what we think was going to happen when they all initially agreed to come in voluntarily was that they were going to plead executive privilege and not answer our questions. They don't have that. President Trump's waived it. They're going to have to answer our questions. And if they don't answer our questions, or if they don't show up for these transcribed interviews and depositions, then we will hold them in contempt of Congress. Our whole conference is united behind getting the truth to this. We want to know who was authorizing the use of the auto pen. We've brought in, a witness already that's identified the inner circle. The witness that was actually putting in, that was Neritan, and that was putting in the documents into the auto pen. But she was never around Joe Biden. He never said, here's the documents, put it in. We're identifying that inner circle. Dr. Connor is obviously a big part of the equation, because we believe, just as Jake Tapper has written, what we believe Jean-Pierre is going to write in her book, that there was a massive cover-up of Joe Biden's mental decline, and there was a select inner circle. And we believe Bernal, who was Jill Biden's chief of staff, was a major part of that inner circle. So we're going to give everybody their due process. They're going to be able to come in and explain. But the purpose of this investigation is the fact that there were many executive orders and many pardons that were signed with an auto pen. And as you have discovered, Jason, many of these were signed on days when Joe Biden was supposedly in the White House. Why couldn't he have signed it, his name right there? Why did they have to use an auto pen? And why was it such a secretive process? So there are major legal implications of this investigation, and hopefully we'll be able to get the truth to the American people and hopefully do it in a very rapid manner.
Yeah, if I have the number right, my recollection is something like 75% of the auto pen signatures happened while President Biden was at the White House. Why would you need an auto pen if you're residing in the White House? And that's a stunning.
Exactly.
Chairman, you're doing an amazing job getting after this. In the case of Anthony Bernal, didn't show up. Then he got issued a subpoena. Now he has to show up. So congratulations, sir. It's going to be that much more difficult. House Oversight Committee.
Well, I look forward to the fact, too, that Peter Navarro and Bannon both had to go to jail for refusing to testify. So, again, this will be interesting how this plays out. I'm not sure if they've got the balls to do what they need to do to end up in jail. I also think a lot of the people on the left think that them going to jail will treat them, they'll get the same benefit from it that Trump got, and it won't. That's the problem. Most of us are going to be stoked that we're finally seeing them locked up where they belong. Double standards are powerful. Want to remind you guys of MyPillow. I'll be talking to Mike Lindell on Wednesday this week, so we'll find out what cool stuff we've got going on the election integrity side of things. But mypillow.com/OTF. We've got some really cool sales going on right now. The summer sheet sale, we're trying to blow these out. I'd highly recommend taking advantage of this. Any size, any color, $29.88 out the door. Also, the next generation energy drink. This stuff's awesome. The Rev 7, just powerful energy, very, very flavorful, 0 calories. I mean, there's like, I think 10 milligrams of salt. And yeah, it's incredible. Good stuff. You can actually try 3 free, 3 cans. You get one of each flavor. And all you got to do is pay shipping. And so, again, pretty sweet deal going on. You got the limited towel sale also. The kitchen towels are really, really nice, $9.99. Then you've got your bath towels. Again, highly recommend the towels. All the towels they have, just ultra absorbent, really soft, really nice towels, just really incredible quality. In fact, I've had them for, 3 years. Washed the hell out of them. They're just still holding up incredible. I mean, just great towels. Great towels, especially for the price. Best towels I've ever bought. I mean, I've bought fancier towels, paid more money. They don't work as well. Their towels are awesome, bar none. Got a sweet deal still on the toppers, though. Kind of should have taken advantage of them a little bit ago, but still $149.97. It's going to add a lot of life to your mattress if your mattress is questionable. But, hey, have no fear. They've got mattresses, too. They start as low as $799.99. So if you've got a second bedroom or something you're trying to set up, you might want to check it out. It's actually, they can get shipped to you, by the way. So you don't have to go pick them up anywhere. Now, you probably have to build some stuff when you get there. I mean, you got the frame and whatnot, but yeah, all that stuff ships to you. Check it out. It's a pretty easy way to get a bed. Check that out. They got the beach blankets are incredible. And dog beds, again, I was told I use guilt a little too often. Not too often. They weren't criticizing me. They were just saying my guilt was very effective. And then I started talking about, I was thinking about the dog beds. I'm like, that's probably one of the guiltiest things I do to you guys. But I still think it's cool because I love dogs. Love dogs. German Shepherd's my favorite dog, by the way. Or I'm sorry, the Golden Retriever's my favorite dog. And just seeing one on the screen's like, well, he deserves like 4 beds, frankly. Whatever room I'm in, I should have a dog bed so he's got a place to chill wherever I'm at. Because, that's all the dog cares about, is just being where you are, right? So rather than lugging the bed throughout the house, just buy multiple beds. It's that simple. If you love your dog, you'll do it. That's where the guilt kicks in. All right, go to mypillow.com/OTF. Mypillow.com/OTF. Also, you got that older dog and newer couch. Those two don't mix well together, do they? Get the pet blanket. Just an easy way around it. It's washable. It's inexpensive. You lay that where the dog always lies and just, here's your new bed. And then they'll hop up and they'll just they will literally make that blanket their bed and they'll be stoked about it. Little will they know that you're doing it as a little bit of a sneak. Right there. That's a guilt complex on the dog. They don't even know it. Go to mypillow.com/OTF. mypillow.com/OTF. Get the best night of sleep you have ever had. And let's try to turn that off because that's not easy. All right, New York Times struggling to explain why it reported news, actual news, to traumatized readers. Oh my God, you're going against our guy. Apparently they were speaking accurately about Zohran Mamdani and some of the nonsense he's actually done there. They deemed harmful to the Democrats. Apparently the newspapers took an additional step of publishing a cringing explanation of why it reported the news that Mamdani lied on his Colombian application and claiming to be black when he wasn't necessarily black. Whatever. Seriously, the whole story is about how they're pissed off around that. It's kind of a silly thing in my opinion, but fact checkers, they're claiming New York mayoral candidate is going to seize the means of production, but he's like, that's not communist though. That's not communist. And it's like that's exactly what seizing production is. When the state takes control of production and businesses like the grocery stores that would be state-owned. And someone pointed out something that's brilliant when it comes to, that's a very odd business to take over. I worked in grocery for a number of years. Grocery operates on like teeny margins, 1 to 3% margins typically. So every can that you buy, they might make a penny or two. They make money based off of the volume of sales, and every once in a while they get deals on some of the stuff they buy, and so they're able to make, an extra 3, 4, 5%. But it's rare. Most of the time it's 1 to 3%. And you'll say, how do they make so many millions of dollars? Well, they've got a crap ton of stores. And so when you think about just volume, 1% on $1 trillion is still $1 billion. It's a lot of money, right? So they're moving a lot of volume. So taking over a grocery store for the state is an odd business. It's not like they can do much to drop the prices. There's this constant understanding that the reason grocery prices are so high is because the stores are charging insane amounts of money. No. I would say the reason a lot of the prices are so high on groceries is, and this is going to piss some people off maybe, but my girlfriend works in grocery. I used to work in grocery, is we're paying people here in California a very high wage to scan bananas. It's a non-skilled job. No offense to anybody that does it. It's a non-skilled, it takes zero skill to do it. You could teach anybody to do it. And we're paying these people over $30 an hour right now. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money to pay someone that's not adding a lot of value. And that gets passed into the price of groceries. So when the prices of groceries go up relative to the prices and wages going up, that's part of the problem. And again, I get the bigger problem, but when you raise wages, you also raise inflation. When they raised minimum wage here in California, it caused inflation. It's caused all the rents to go up. It caused everything to go up. Every time you do something like that, that's exactly what happens. It sounds good on paper because everybody thinks very near term. They're like, well, right now everybody's making minimum wage at $7.50 an hour. First off, just to break it down, I don't know why I'm spending so much time on this, but I don't think a lot of people really think about it. I worked in a coffee shop for a while. I made minimum wage, and then I'd get raises, right? Not that it mattered much, but I eventually had worked my way up to, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 bucks, whatever. Minimum wage finally caught up to me. And I lost all my raises. I lost all my raises. And many would say, well, don't they just give you extra raises on top of the minimum wage increase? No, they don't. So it doesn't do any of the stuff that people think it's going to do. In fact, it just makes inflation worse. Wherever you do it, that is 100% guarantee what's going to happen. For an extremely short period of time, it'll be like, oh my God, I'm making more money. And then literally within a month or two, you will start to see rents increasing. You'll see the prices of homes increasing, the price of food increasing, fast food increases. Everything will increase because of the minimum wage change. 6 months since LA fires, Gavin Newsom still hasn't gotten rebuilding done. Nope. California governor and podcaster Gavin Newsom is focused on anything but rebuilding the communities devastated by the Palisades and Eaton fires 6 months ago. Obsessed instead with his presidential ambitions. Newsom requested $40 billion in fire relief from Congress, but he has received nothing new, not even one big, beautiful bill that President Trump signed on July 4th, and is making little headway. That is at least partly because Newsom has been obsessed with attacking Trump, partly over genuine policy differences, but also because the California governor appears to be setting himself up for a presidential run. Rather than the diplomatic approach Newsom often took during the coronavirus pandemic, when he often praised Trump to ensure California received respirators and other aid, Newsom has been on the warpath. Newsom opposed the Big Beautiful Bill bitterly, He also signed $50 million in spending to fight the Trump administration's policies, seeking nationwide injunctions on issues from immigration to climate to tariffs. California is even suing Trump over his administration's popular policy of protecting female athletes from transgender men, with Newsom taking a stance that is supported by the Democratic base and few others. Newsom also lost badly in his bid to stop President Trump from deploying the National Guard to assist with suppressing riots in L.A. after left-wing activists attacked immigration and customs enforcement officers. Nevertheless, Newsom has persisted in fighting the Trump administration and launching personal attacks on the president, claiming that the federal government should provide billions in aid regardless. On Monday, Newsom plans a press conference to mark the 6th-month anniversary of the fires, but the next day, he's leaving for a 2-day swing through the 8 rural counties in South Carolina, a key primary state. Newsom's visit has been advertised as an opportunity to discuss shared experiences in dealing with natural disasters, but Newsom's record has been dismal, and he has struggled to deal with fires and blizzards alike. So again, Newsom is blowing it. He wants to run for president. I don't think he's going to get a chance. I think everybody's pissed off at him. Richard Grinnell posted this out. In California, we live on the ocean, but our governor can't figure out how to get more water. So he spends millions of tax dollars telling people to not water their lawns and to take faster showers. We have 33 million acres of forest land, but our governor can't figure out how to properly remove dead trees. When you combine Gavin's water and forest incompetence, you get deadly fires. The Sacramento Democrats still haven't filled up the water reserves or cleaned up the brush. They are still killing desalination plants and common sense forest management. The fires will happen again. I've told Donald J. Trump we shouldn't spend federal money on California if the problems aren't fixed first. Meanwhile, Gavin is launching his 5th version of a podcast, trying to rebrand himself to run for president. He isn't interested in fixing the problems. I pray the Democrats nominate him. He's a total and complete fraud, and the swing states will see it instantly. For sure. Democrats retreat on climate. It's one of the more disturbing turnabouts, they're saying. They were talking about it. Newsom was kind of talking about it, and he was even kind of throwing Kathleen Hochul. Was it Kathleen or Catherine? Why can't I remember? Hochul. We'll just call her that. I know that part's correct. But basically saying they're doing the same thing. They're cutting back on a lot of these projects, these green projects. He was talking about their carbon credit or their carbon pulling it into the ground project. Because, again, Trump's not funding this stuff. Trump's not funding California's stupid environmental stuff, which they were going to pocket gobs of that money. That's typically how they do it. They'll say, hey, we need $1 trillion, and then the government will give them $1 trillion, right? And that's kind of exaggerated, but they'll give them $1 trillion, and then Gavin Newsom puts $500 billion of it into coffers and his friends' pockets, his own pocket, right? Helps spend it on him and Nancy Pelosi both have wineries, and they had this small section of the winery that they were doing some weird growing technique, and just took a small little amount of land, but because of that, they got a whole bunch of federal money. This is the kind of stuff they've been doing for themselves for a long time. So those things have stopped. And now all of a sudden they're like, well, we're going to cut this back because we don't have the budget for it right now, but it doesn't mean we don't care, blah, 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 right? So they're on the backtrack. They're in a tough place, and there's no way they're getting the money. And they can't possibly force Trump to do anything about it. And if they try to go to court over it, how bad it's going to look on them. Because they've made promises without really ever having the funding nailed down. So a lot of things are coming to fruition. The Dems are losing power, steam, big time. California Republican lawmakers urge amnesty for illegal immigrants. There were some senators or some Republicans that signed in on this. Signatories included State Senator Minority Leader Brian Jones, Republican from San Diego. Jones authored a bill that failed in committee that would have required the prisons and jails in California to provide requested release dates to federal immigration officials for individuals convicted of serious or violent felonies, or wobblers, whatever that is. I guess crimes that are serious enough to be prosecuted as either a felony or a misdemeanor. That's what maybe a wobbler is. Like, it could go either way. This didn't pass. That's how hardcore this state and other states are as far as not doing what's right. Right? They're so worried about how they're going to be perceived by the base, which, by the way, the base is the tiny 10%. not the whole party. A lot of people in the party are really upset with the high taxes, are really upset with how things just won. The weather's not changing any. It's getting extraordinarily expensive. We're getting constant fires, and people are losing their insurance. People can't afford the gas. It's just getting worse and worse. And they're asking for more and more money from us. And it's ridiculous at that point, frankly. So, not good for the big picture. The Office of Director of National Intelligence's new Directors Initiatives Group, DIG is what it will be called. It's going to review some of the largest scandals of the Biden administration and explore vulnerabilities from 2020 and 2022. They specifically call out the Russia collusion hoax, the Hunter Biden laptop, election vulnerabilities in 2020 and 2022, the Biden administration's labeling of political opponents as domestic terrorists, and some other stuff. So they're going to be digging into a lot of this stuff to see what they can figure out for us. John Brennan, he's possibly going to face perjury issues after the CIA director Ratcliffe's review uncovers Russia's hoax testimony problems. A lot of this tying to the Russia Steele dossier. The CIA knew, or Brennan knew, that the documents were not accurate. But Brennan kept them because it worked a narrative. And then he lied about it. That's where the perjury is going to come in. He knew full well. John Ratcliffe has released the information. Comey and Brennan, both of those guys knew. So we'll see, again, what comes from all that. Things got to move as fast as they can, but frankly, they're only going to go as fast as they can. Oh, yeah, this is what I opened accidentally. Paramount Global and CBS, they settle. This is the one that had to do with them editing Kamala Harris's interview, right? And so they edited it to make her sound less stupid because, that's about all they could do. Otherwise, she sounded super stupid. But what's interesting is they've settled. It's an 8-figure settle. I don't know if that's like 15 million or what. I mean, it's just anything over 10 million and above. Oh, they're saying 20 million here. Well, no, $20 billion election interference lawsuit. But he got an 8-figure settlement. So what's weird is they're saying, wow, they just wanted this to go away and they're hoping to stay in good favor so they can get this planned merger with David Ellison's Skydance Media. And I kind of don't think that's really it. I think what the problem is they didn't want Discovery. They didn't want Discovery going out because if Trump was able to get the information and show how much they actually edited, it would have been catastrophic for them. Well, the deep state. It would have been catastrophic for the deep state. The number of networks that would have looked bad on this, a number of politicians, just all this stuff. It would have looked horrible. And the fact that Biden was retarded and so was Kamala, it's like, Democrats, you guys are so taken advantage of. That's what you are. Taken advantage of. For any of the Democrats, apparently my mom listens every once in a while now, which just blows my mind. I actually had no idea that was actually happening. So whatever. Democrats, you guys are literally, you just trust, and you shouldn't. Biden was out of his mind. That was obvious. You should have known that. Kamala was horrible and stupid. You guys didn't even vote on that, and you should have been freaking out. But you don't. You guys don't ever go against what everybody else is. And that's the problem for you all. And that's why you're going to lose and continue to lose, because we got you figured out. All we have to do is take a stance on something that's pretty black and white, polls pretty high, at least 40% or higher, usually higher than that. And then we take the stance. Donald Trump just goes, this is how I feel about it. This is what I'm going to do. You guys instantly have to go in the opposite direction. So the whole thing with boys and girls sports, you guys are ruined on that. Abortion, fighting so hard to be able to kill babies, kind of messed up. Just to name a few things. Higher taxes. The fact that the fun ones, the climate, right? Everyone freaks out about the climate. Well, what climate experts say and all the modeling says. Right, I get you. But I don't know about you, but this has happened to me countless times in my life where I look at the horoscope for today and it's wrong. Oh, it's not raining, yet it's raining. Or the other way around. It's wrong. They can't even get the weather right today. Their models are that bad. And you're telling me you want me to believe what they say is going to happen in 10 years, and they can't even get today or tomorrow or the next day correct most of the time? In fact, when I was in radio earlier on, I don't know if it's gotten better. I hope it has. But back when I was in radio, around 2000, Every day you get out on the extended forecast, you are 20% less accurate, meaning you'd lose 20% accuracy. So today I should be reasonably accurate, right? Tomorrow, 80%. 2 days out, 60% accurate. 3 days out, 40% accurate. You see, once you get to a 5-day forecast, you have 0% accuracy. Zero. Yet you want me to believe your long-term weather, like you've got it figured out. You guys don't know, no one knows what the hell's going on, frankly. It seems. Congressman Brandon Gill put this out. I introduced the OCED Elimination Act to abolish Democrats' $21 billion slush fund for the Green New Scam. We're done funding globalist climate fantasies. It's time to unleash American energy and shut this wasteful office down. Boom. Politico posted this. Judges are finding workarounds to Trump's big Supreme Court win. I feel like one of these was already like kind of shot down. Yeah, because this was on the 3rd. One of these was already kind of shot down. Like the Supreme Court got pissed at a district court and said, no, we already said you can't do this. So they're going to keep trying to do some weird stuff. They're going to try everything they can to go around it. Personally, I think it's going to be entertaining. That's what I'm looking forward to. It's going to be these same 5 districts predominantly, and it's going to be overwhelmingly these people. And these districts, there's going to be repercussions to them, especially if they continue to go against the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the ruler of the courts, and they're the ones, instead of impeaching judges, the Supreme Court deals with it through their judicial review or whatever the hell they call it. That's what's going to happen, likely. And this will be also awesome. We're getting to see the Constitution save us, play out, and just be the amazing, beautiful, living document that it is. And it's a friggin' awesome time to be alive. This was hysterically funny in my mind for a while. Okay, it's as funny as it can be. Aristotle posted their leading reports story that's put out breaking. Planned Parenthood set to lose close to $1 billion in taxpayer dollars, and nearly 200 facilities face closure. And Aristotle said, it's just a clump of dollars. Huh? Right? Too soon? A little wrong? Probably. Gunman killed after ambushing Border Patrol agent outside of McAllen, Texas. Man, Texas has got a lot going on. Nobody injured from the officers. 0. Not even injured. Looks like they shot up the glass really bad. I did see a view of the dude. He died right outside this door. He died. He died. He was shooting up the place. Didn't hurt anybody. Then got killed, fatally shot. And he was lying like right in front of the door. I didn't show that picture because, frankly, I think showing dead bodies will get you in trouble 9 times out of 10. As much as I think we all like to see a train wreck happen, you're not really supposed to play them. 10 tax policies that made it into the final version of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Just to kind of cover them, because there's been so much talk of what is and what isn't in there. Reduction of taxes on tips. It's going to go through 2028. They can deduct up to $25,000. In many states, that'll be pretty cool. In places like California and New York, it's like, that's okay. That doesn't help much, because honestly, most people working at the nicer restaurants out here are likely pulling a 6-figure income. I know that sounds crazy, but that's about what you need to make to have like a 2-bedroom apartment, let alone try to buy something. So $25,000 when you're making 6 figures it's a step in the right direction. But again, that's what happens when you raise minimum wage, guys. Just saying. Our minimum wage is the highest in the nation. I think us in New York probably have the highest. I think ours is, 18, 19, somewhere around there, close to $20. That's our minimum wage. It costs ridiculous amounts of money here. So every time everyone's like, yeah, but you make so much more money. Yeah, it costs us ridiculously more money here. Shame, actually. Anyway, deduction on car loan interest, up to $10,000 in car loans on specific qualifying loans. I don't know exactly what that is. Probably new cars, or maybe if it had to be new car years. I mean, check in on that. If you guys are actually looking at maybe buying a car, you're going to be able to write off up to $10,000 of the interest in a year. Now, again, that's a lot of interest to pay on a car loan in 1 year, but you can write up to that much. It's pretty cool. Tax deduction for overtime pay through 2028. Now has a limit of $12,500 for single filers, $25,000 for married. So yeah, it is what it is. Let's see. Increase in standard deduction. The new law raises the standard deduction from $15,750 from originally $15,000. That's for an individual, I guess, and then it's up $500 or no, $1,500. Sorry, from $30,000 for couples filing married. Deduction for seniors through 2028. The bill includes $6,000 deduction for seniors over 65 who earn no more than $75,000 a year. All the stuff I've heard on this, supposedly like something close to 60% of seniors don't pay taxes on their Social Security. This is supposedly going to take that number up closer to 80%. Again, so the way this states it is not helpful at all. But that, I mean, if you're reasonably wealthy, or maybe you've got like a pension too or something, I don't know how it works where you're able to dip in both, but yeah, those people are probably still paying tax on that. Let's see, increases child tax credit from $2,000 per child to $2,200 per child. Pretty good deal. SALT deduction cap is going to increase substantially. Oh, they did get the $40,000. Nice. That's nice. They wanted to lower that. That's cool. So yeah, up to $40,000 of state taxes that you pay, you can now write off from your federal tax. Like that's sweet. That's a sweet ass deal. I like that. I live in one of the crap states, so that'll help me for sure. All the I don't know if I pay that much, I might, but yeah, we'll see. That's a lot to write off of my federal though. It's pretty sweet. New scholarship tax benefit has been established. Tax credits. Let's see. If you choose to donate to organizations that provide scholarships to students, I guess you can do up to $1,700 on that a year. There's a lot of places you can donate and get a write-off, so that's just another one, and they've raised the limit. Let's see, create Trump accounts. This is kind of cool. You can create an account for a child. I think it's supposed to be a tax advantage account, and it can be used for, I think, anything, really, once they're over 18. So school is a typical one that a lot of people do. But you could also do it for property, and you can put away $5,000. It's pre-tax and all that stuff, so it's cool. And then the kid's obviously going to have to pay taxes when they use it. It'll be considered income to them, but it's a cool little tax haven for whoever is doing the donation up to $5,000. It's a fun way to help kids and grandkids. Consumers interested in purchasing an electric car this year should know that the existing federal tax credit of up to $7,500 on new electric vehicle purchases and leases is set to expire September 30th. If you do want to get an electric vehicle, get it before then. That's all I can say. If you do that, you're good. You get that. But otherwise, tax credit is up to $4,000 on used vehicles. It's going to expire the same day. So $7,500 federal, and you've probably got some state love if you're in one of the blue states. All said, that's some of the tax stuff that's in there. Trump officials unveil new delayed deadline for tariffs. They said they're pleased to announce that the United States tariff letter and or deals with various countries from around the world will be delivered. Oh, that's not helpful. Get back there so I can read that. Will be delivered on Monday, July 7th. Thank you for your attention. I think we've got some specifics on this. Yeah, they're sending letters out to some people. We sort of talked about this yesterday. See, trade 9th. Good exchange. I know we sent stuff out to, I want to say Japan and one other country, and basically just said, hey, here's what's up. You guys didn't give us a deal, and we are raising the tariff. I want to say it was like 25%. Trump does kind of say, here it is, I think. It wasn't as high as it was, or could be. So he's like, I'm kind of being cool with a lot of you, but you're still going to pay a tariff, like a pretty significant one. But Trump, Truth, I think. President Trump announced a 25% tariff on Japan and South Korea effective August 1st. So tackle the trade deficit, signaling his resolve to protect American economic interests. In letters shared on the Truth Social, he criticized policies limiting U.S. goods and their markets. He said, please understand that the 25% number is far less than what is needed to eliminate the trade deficit disparity we have with your country. He urged both nations to build factories in the U.S., promising swift approvals in a matter of weeks to avoid tariffs. So they better do something. Germany's pension Ponzi scheme is collapsing. What they mean by that is today's money, it's kind of like what our Social Security basically is. It's a Ponzi scheme, many say as well. But today, the people working today are paying the people that retired yesterday. There's no money piled up. That's already been stolen, right? So if the number of workers today decreases, or the number of people being born decreases, which is happening, then the system starts to crumble. This is one of the main reasons, by the way, why, there's two main reasons that I've been able to put together, why everybody says, we have to have more kids, we have to have more kids, we have to have more kids. Anybody that's like remotely aware of the fact that traffic and certain things have totally changed over the past 20, 30, 40 years realizes that the population growth has definitely occurred. So the idea that we need more people is absurd. It is. Now, What I'm going to acknowledge is why I understand everybody saying what they say. I just think the system needs to break, frankly. And having more kids and really doing that to the planet or to ourselves is not necessarily a good thing. And I'm actually going to bring up a great point why it's extraordinarily expensive to have kids today than it was just a short 50, 60 years ago, or even 20 years ago. It's ridiculous how expensive it is. But the two main ways they get us is they tell us religiously, right? We need to make our religion grow so we can actually outnumber the other religions. That's one way they go about it. And the other is the system that is based off of the people currently working to support those of us that aren't. And most of the people that I ever hear making that argument are people that are either A, getting very close to retirement, or B, retired. And they don't want to lose theirs, as my good friend from Boston always says to me, so long as I get mine, I'm okay. He actually means it. He's a nice guy, but he actually means it. It's kind of one of the places where I'm like, it's kind of douchey, but he's from Boston, right? What do you kind of comes with the territory. So Germany is falling apart. Germany is crashing right now. France is crashing right now. I think England, because they broke away from the EU, actually has a chance, but England's going through its own social problem. And in fact, I think a lot of people are under the assumption that they're probably going to have, I don't want to say they're going to have a civil war, but they've got a major issue going on. They've got some very serious crime happening, immigrant on native culture. It's just, well, it's pissing a lot of people off. Again, nobody would know because you can never tell when a Brit's pissed off until they finally break a bottle over your head. But up until that point, you will have no idea they're pissed. Just sort of joking, but not. Germantown wants Russian oil back. Schwed faces mass layoffs due to problems at a local refinery after EU sanctions cut off its access to Russian supplies. Yeah, they can't get enough oil. They're not able to create as much as they wanted and need to. The place is shutting down. And that's hard, shutting down stuff like refineries and stuff, because they're not easy to spin back up. It takes time. That's why, like with the problem that Russia was having with their gas lines filling up, once they get full and you have to literally start cutting lines and feed, it becomes very hard to uncap those. So again, it's not something you like you have a little light switch and you can just flip it off and it just stays in the ground until you're ready to start sucking it back out. If only it were that easy. So some of the many problems that we got that are compounding with where we're at today. Tentative move with tariff letters expected after midday. Trump threatens 10% tariffs on those aligned with BRICS. Just right off the bat, if you're with BRICS, we're going to give you a 10% tariff or 10% more. I don't know exactly how it'll all play out, but a lot of talk, a lot of speculation. Stock market wasn't happy. Gold started really low and it's completely rebounded. That's pretty cool. Yeah, completely rebounded. Just did a big giant U. I'm not sure why or what, but yeah, it's almost back to 33.50 where it should. It's 33.47, close enough. Yeah, NASDAQ, Dow, and all that stuff, basically down 1%. Everyone's saying it's because of trade. Again, anything they can blame on Trump, they will. But what's going to happen is once these deals go into effect and then things start working out better for the United States, the bubble continues and they haven't let it release. And it creates a bigger problem. Now, the thing is it's not going to be able to be blamed on Trump because Trump keeps doing all the right stuff to help the economy move forward. So something else is going to have to show itself. Again, does that end up being the Fed? How do we blame them for it? I don't know how this plays out. I just know that the Federal Reserve note cannot continue. At some point, it has to die. So the value of it's got to get messed up a little bit. One thing that precious metals help you with is holding your value. What that means is buying power. So if you've got a stack of cash, let's call it $1,000 of cash, right? $1,000 buys what it buys. I used to use the $5 loaf of bread thing. Let's say that. Just that still kind of works. All right. So you got $35 and you got silver coin. Okay, this is worth $35 or close enough. And I got a stack of fives. Right? I got 7 5s over here. Right now, a loaf of bread costs $5. That's because that's what the value of the dollar is based off of what goods and services are. Based off of that, I could get 5 loaves of bread, either right now today, but you can buy it week after week because otherwise it goes bad, right? So 1 silver coin I could get, or 7 loaves, sorry. 1 silver coin, I could do the same thing. So I go in and I'll get the equivalent of, bits of silver back, right? And I guess whatever the 1/7 of an ounce is, right? So I'll have 6/7 of an ounce and in change. And then I'll go back next week and the price of bread might have gone up to $6, but it's still, this value of this coin will have gone up accordingly. So it'll still, I'll be able to get 7 loaves of bread, no matter what the price of bread is, because the price of this will go up accordingly. Cash doesn't. So that stack of $35, I get 1 loaf of bread today. I've still got $30 tomorrow or next week. That loaf is now $6. Well, shoot, that is already eating into my 7 loaves. I no longer have enough for 7 loaves. Now I've got enough for 6 plus. So I'm going to give them $6. Now I'm short, I'm down $24. It's no longer the way it was. This will hold the value. Gold is the same. It's just a larger stored value in the same small size. 1 ounce, 1 ounce. This is what 30, the hell is it? 3,500? I think 3340, 3350, right? Let's call it that. And this is, I think 35. We find out. Where is it? Futures? Is that where it's at? Yeah, silver. So 36, actually almost 37 right now. So silver's even kind of going up. So again, it's just the value it stores, but it'll hold that buying power. That's what's powerful about it. That's why it makes sense to get out of things that are backed by the dollar or based off the dollar. Stocks are a good example. Your stock might be up 5%, but if the value of the dollar is down 4%, you've not done as well as it sounds like. Gold and silver are up proportionately. You go back a year, in 2 years, and gold was down about 1,800. It's sitting at 3,350 right now. Silver, much the same. I think it was down around 22 or something like that, and it's sitting at 37. This is a great store of value. Get out of their system. Get out of their dollar. Wait until we got our treasury note or whatever it's going to go to, and then move everything back into that. Go to drslikesgold.com. If you've got a 401k or an IRA, you can get out tax-free, penalty-free into precious metals, up to 10% free silver, which is seriously undervalued. A lot of things are going to change as the stuff starts coming off the rails. Silver prices are going to kind of double and triple. They're going to go up a lot. There's a value change there. So the free silver is a big one. Get out of their system. They'll help you do it. They're going to help you. There's a lot of steps along the way. There's many things you got to do to dot your I's and cross your T's, but they're going to make sure you do it so you don't get in trouble. You're going to get a free collector's coin if you fill out those data points and call within 20 minutes. And you're also going to get this great Trump book talking about the financial future and your gold and silver kit talking about your IRA, precious metals IRA. And it's a great way to invest. And again, something awesome. And it's actual physical. It's put in a trust. It's not given to you directly because that's the same thing as cashing out. Even though you might say, I won't touch it. I know. That's why it's in a trust. You won't touch it. And if you do, it's cashing out, which you can do later. Right? Just saying. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of that system while you can, folks, while you can, because once it's too late, it almost won't matter at that point. America's healthcare system is now structured financial scam. I like that. This is, yes, just a mess, how much more expensive things have come, how much cheaper it was. So the cost of childbirth right now is asinine. So back in 1952, at one of the finest hospitals on the West Coast, the Santa Monica Hospital, it cost $30 for your doctor's services. If a cesarean was performed, an additional $30. It cost $30. $1 in 1952 is the equivalent of $12.13 today. So adjusted for inflation, the $30 fee to deliver a baby would be $363 today. Maternity rates are significantly higher than that. In fact, someone was talking about how they are up to now 12,000. Well, there's a recent article. A baby without complications now costs $44,000. Everyone's saying you just have to have babies. This is why younger people aren't having babies. They're expensive. They are not as cheap as it was back in the day. It is insanely expensive. So, yeah, people are not doing it for a lot of reasons. And this is what's happening to our system. The system itself, the healthcare system with pharmaceuticals, will bankrupt this country if MAHA didn't do what it's doing. Guarantee. We've got RFK Jr. has been sued by doctors over abrupt changes to the COVID vaccine schedule. It's pretty funny, frankly. The plaintiff includes large, influential medical bodies such as the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Infectious Disease Society of America, the American College of Physicians, the American Public Health Association, and the Society for Maternal Fetal Medicine. Now, here's the thing. I'd love to see somebody do some grok searches and find out that people how many of the people on the boards of these different groups are getting pharmaceutical donations? And how many of them aren't, right? Get that ratio, right? If there's 10 people on the board, are 9 of them getting money and 1 of them not? Or are all 10 of them getting money? But I guarantee you, every single one of these societies is heavily bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry. So they sue Kennedy, who's not bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry, Trump, who's not bought and paid for by the pharmaceutical industry, even though they gave him $100 million. He did not do what they want him to do, so they probably won't be giving him any more money. So this is how it's playing out. This is how the game's played, and we're going to continue to push. Democrats seem to think that the poor people are stupid, says Scott Bessent. I love this dude, not just because he punched Musk. I'm alleging. It's what I've heard. I think it's true. Seems true, because that's when X supposedly, punched me, and he punched me, and I got a black eye. I don't know. Maybe Musk told Bessent to punch him. Like, what are you going to do? Punch me then. And Bessent probably just, popped him, right? Maybe a quick jab, instead of a, haymaker or some shit like that, whatever. But it's a group of Democrats who seem to think that poor people are stupid, Bessent told CNN Dana Bash. He says, I don't think poor people are stupid. I think they have agency. And I think to have them register twice a year for these benefits, that is not a burden. But these people who want to infantilize the poor and those who need these Medicaid benefits are alarmists. And this, again, is the whole thing where, black people supposedly can't get driver's licenses, so it's therefore racist to ask people to have ID, even though you need that to cash a check, you need that to do all sorts, rent cars, all these different things. Those things apparently aren't racist, but when it comes to voting, where they cheat the most, and it's racist all of a sudden. Same thing. It's just how again, like I've said, it's how the game's played over and over, which we're used to it by now, I would assume. Air Force intercepted another plane flying over Trump's New Jersey golf course club, Bedminster there, golf club there, Trump National, I guess it's called. F-16 jet flew up to that one too. Again, that'll get you in big trouble. I assume a lot of those people got fined. You're not allowed to do that. And you would want to fine them so they would make sure to never make that mistake again. If by chance they did it intentionally, well, you can actually have your license revoked. In fact, I know someone that's a pilot that uses drones. If you use drones inappropriately, by the way, and you have a pilot's license, they can take your pilot's license away if you fly a drone incorrectly. Yeah. Just be very careful if any of you guys do drones. There's a lot of people that think you can do stuff legally just because the drone can do it. No. If it's out of your sight, you're probably in trouble. Just something to think about. 3 opposition mayors have been arrested in Turkey. Seems Erdogan is going through some sort of cleansing, thinning. I don't know. These guys seem to be taking some strides in these particular towns. I don't think I'm going to be able to say their names. Likely probably can't pronounce the towns, for that matter. And the capital, Ankara. Yeah, this is where the crisis is happening. Where is it? Accused justice targeting them. I thought they had the cities in here someplace easier. Whatever. Not that it matters that much, probably. But yeah, they're detaining some mayors. I don't know what's going on. I feel like this is a deep state movement in Turkey because Erdogan's done a pretty good job. One, they wanted Erdogan to attack Israel when the Iran thing happened, and they've held tight, which has been a big deal. Turkey was always one of the big concerns. They've got quite an air force, quite an armed forces. Definitely don't want to be pissing them off just as a regular, that's definitely not something we want to do. Also the Arab population as well. So yeah, something to say. Russia's got this new deterrence weapon and it's not nuclear. This is it was actually a really interesting article. Just shorten it extensively. This is the Oreshnik missile. It is super fast. It goes Mach 10 to Mach 11. It is hitting the ground with such kinetic force, and it's actually striking at Mach 10, Mach 11. It speeds up rather than slows down on its final descent. It hits with so much kinetic energy that it actually buries through to a certain level before it explodes conventionally. Extraordinarily powerful, very hard to stop. In fact, they do have this pretty crazy video. I remember we shared this back in the day, but this was either multiple re-entry vehicles, possibly, or this is actually multiple missiles. But each one of those things is a warhead, at least. And that's just, what it's doing to the air as it comes down and around. I mean, that's just crazy, right? It almost reminds me of Independence Day when the UFOs come through the clouds. Pretty crazy. So, this powerful weapon, I think ultimately some of the stuff we'd probably be able to stop it, but their medium range ones, man, those things launch. They don't get off the ground that far. I think their minimum range is about 500 kilometers, and then they get out like 3 to 5,000, something like that. Again, trying to pull facts out of my butthole on this article. All said, interesting stuff. Zelensky's latest call with Trump was the most productive ever. That supposedly is what we're hearing. Anyways, I know Trump is mad at Russia, and Russia is definitely hitting Kiev hard. Kiev is getting rocked right now. Russia's also making a lot of motions forward. So again, don't know exactly what's happening. Russia's also been having a rash of ships that are blowing up at port. So I think they've had 7 of these mishaps. They just had another one recently. It was supposedly an ammonia leak that exploded and sank the vessel in the port. Again, they might be able to eventually get it up. I don't know how, if they can or can't. I don't know how that works. Probably much harder to do, especially once something's got a bunch of water in it. It becomes very, very hard to move it. All said, another tanker. So they're getting beat up on too in their own ways. I'm not sure who's behind it. I doubt we are as much, but England certainly could be to a large extent. Russia's army, they captured 2 more settlements in the 3rd straight month of advances in the Ukraine on the east. One of it was in the Donetsk area. The other was in Kharkiv. 2 big areas that they've been trying to essentially set that buffer zone up. I think once Putin has established a buffer zone, and I think that's, and he's essentially denazified as far as he's concerned, then I think he's going to be like, all right, let's do the ceasefire. So I think Trump knows that. I think Trump's like, dude, can you hurry it up, man? Come on, dude. This is like, we got to finish this quick. So I also think that's kind of why Russia, they stuck 50,000 troops over on the border over there. They're like, all right, we're going to go as quick as we can. Trump knows what's up. He can't publicly be like, okay, this is all right, because he'd get beat up politically. So he has to be able to, badmouth Putin on this, and Putin knows that. So he's just like, it's just, they're doing what they got to do. It was when Iran retaliated and didn't hit any of our stuff. Right, was it really a retaliation? No. And we even knew about it in many cases. So again, the same stuff's playing out right now. The deep state's getting shut down, and they're not getting the political wins from it that they want. Tim Scott said there's some accusations that Trump is too easy on Putin. His answer essentially was hogwash. He was on with Fox News. So again, we've got good people helping with the big picture right now. Israel cover-up of Iranian hits on military sites. This was happening, and they were even talking about how the Knesset got hit, and then they were trying to be like, well, nothing's hit any military targets at all. And it's like, well, that's not true. So again, there was a lot of misreporting intentionally. What I did find interesting about it, though, is that the Israeli Mossad or whatever was not able to control the narrative. Plenty of accurate information was coming out that definitely goes against what they were saying. So again, the deep state is also in Israel, though Israelis are not the problem. The deep state is in Iran, though Iran's not the problem. Deep state is in China, though China is not the problem. It's in North Korea. North Korea is not the problem. It's in the United States. The United States is not the problem. It's the same thing. We're taking out the deep state. They are a nameless, faceless, countryless group of people. You can't just hate a group of people. You can't just hate a country. You must be very specific in your word choices, because others are listening to us, and they're going to learn from us, and they're going to learn that we actually have empathy for mankind, for the Iranian people, for the Chinese people. They're going to learn from us. Got merchant ship was attacked with RPGs in the southern Red Sea choke point. A bunch of these little ships rolled up with machine guns and RPGs. Essentially, these ships going through this part of the world, they have security forces with firearms, like heavy-duty firearms, like machine guns and stuff, or at least similar to that. And so they were able to keep them from doing anything. It doesn't sound like any crazy damage was done. I'm not sure if they just missed or what. I mean, it's RPGs are not guided in any way, shape, or form. It's just a dumb grenade that's shooting out the front, but They can be pretty dangerous. Israelis are launching Operation Black Flag against Yemen. I don't know. And Gaza still. They're still kind of blowing people up in Gaza. So they're going after the Houthis still and the Hamas, which, I don't know. Am I wrong? Or didn't they tell us both those groups were destroyed? I thought they did. Didn't they? Or almost destroyed. And maybe they've just come back a little bit, right? And you got to take all the antibiotic, otherwise the bacteria comes back. I mean, is that what's happening here? I feel like this is Israel trying to figure out an excuse to attack Iran more, because they keep saying this is Iranian proxies. So they're still playing that narrative out. Again, I think the deep state in Israel desperately wants the Gog-Magog war. That's not going to happen. And the important leaders on this world are not going to let it happen. So Israel is not going to be able to do this. They are too dependent on us for many, many, many things. And they can't just do whatever they want. So this will be interesting. Obviously, Netanyahu arrived this morning in Washington for his third trip with Trump. We'll see what he's trying to talk him into. I mean, there's speculation all over the place. I think most of us could speculate just fine on what he's here for. More support, wants to be able to do more damage, wants, more money, whatever. I don't know. I know Trump has been trying to get the political attacks against Netanyahu to stop. I know he's been trying to keep these guys from continuing to go to war, yet here they are still attacking others, just not Iran. We'll see. We'll see, folks. I just want to, again, remind you guys about The Root Brands. I am a little long, so I don't want to spend too much time. Just great products. We'll hit the shop tab really quick here just to check them out, but some really, really good stuff. You want to go to therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style. It's the ROOT, therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style. They've got incredible clean slate, getting a lot of the heavy metals, a lot of the elements in our bodies out. It's like you do 5 drops on your tongue twice a day. This stuff's making a huge difference. You'll either feel like you ate a bunch of vitamins, or you'll feel, smells like you ate a bunch of vitamins, or smells like you ate asparagus. That's what it's going to smell like when you use this. Now, I would say don't maybe use this with a vitamin supplement if you're trying to do a strong cleanse. Be careful, because you can actually leach out some of those things too. This product is pretty strong and works very, very well. So again, time your things better. You don't take the vitamin and then an hour later do clean slate, and then a couple hours later take the vitamin, that kind of thing maybe. Zero in, again, lots of energy, a little bit of caffeine, a lot of energy. Helps me focus. It's amazing. And I've taken, I think, up to 2. And that's just like that's energy. Like that's like, yeah, let's go out and run around with the kids. Like, it's a lot of energy. It's pretty awesome. Not quite like an energy drink where your heart's pounding, but you're up, you're awake, your mind's really clear and crisp. It's super awesome the way it works. Again, a little bit of caffeine. It's got a bunch of other stuff. Really gets your mind going. Restore is awesome. I finally pulled these up so I can show. I love them. This stuff's delicious. I think this is one that tastes like the orange Otter Pop. Oh, it's so good. So good. And it's got just all sorts of ingredients that really help your gut biome, your bone health, healthy blood pressure, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory stuff. So arthritis and stuff like that. Very, very helpful. They've got packs. Trinity Pack's got the Restore. It's got Zero in, and it's got the Clean Slate. Like, they've got some pretty cool little deals like that. Sculpt is a powder that's got amino acids and all that good stuff. Give Me Back My Youth, collagen and colostrum. A super awesome powder. Again, these are good ones I always recommend for throwing in smoothies. Relive Greens is another one. Immune Shield is also a powder, and I should probably talk about this one more often. So they've got some really good ones that are not necessarily pills. The Sculpt is a pill. I like this one, and it actually helps your body with the way it processes sugar, helps with your appetite suppressant. It's just good if you're trying to lose a little weight, helps with your fatty acid breakdown. It literally kind of helps you burn through calories a little quicker than you would normally. And again, Clean Spirits. This is, if you're a drinker, well, I like to drink, and you every once in a while maybe get a little too excited at night and feel like crap in the morning, this is your morning after savior. These Clean Spirits are awesome. Good Morning Minerals is a good one for the day after. So again, things to think about. And finally, skin. You can't touch them. Their skin stuff is so good. They have a peptide serum, peptide cleanser. They've got these moisturizing. It's just incredible. Like, I use that on the bags of my eyes. I'm just too lazy. I should do it more often. And it makes a huge difference. It's a trip. And the peptide, I kind of want to try just the bags and the wrinkles. I mean, again, I don't know. I'm starting to. I'm getting vain. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I like aging and just looking stupid. I sleep on my face sometimes and don't care. right? I got a friend that's like, I can't sleep on my face. It'll mess my face up. I'm like, I don't ever want to be like that. Go to therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style. Therootbrands.com/Dan Radio Style. Again, healthy choices, healthy living. FBI concludes Jeffrey Epstein had no client list, didn't blackmail anyone, and definitely didn't kill himself, or definitely killed himself. So this is already right off the bat. No offense, I love Zero Hedge, but they're kind of, they're going for a headline clickbait. That's not exactly the phraseology. Let's see if I can find it in here. If not, I know the next site has it. This was, I think, when Bongino was originally talking about how it looked like he committed suicide. Now, again, a lot of this is everybody thinking that he didn't kill himself. We've been running around saying he didn't kill himself. We've been running around saying there's an Epstein client list. And so we're finding out that as they've said, there is no evidence of that. That's all we're saying. Let me see if I got to find the stupid quote. This is Axios is putting this out, by the way. And they said this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. It revealed no incriminating and client list. There was also no credible evidence. Credible evidence. Very, very important words. No incriminating client list. No credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. No evidence, they're saying. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. Okay? People have got to understand how government speak has to be. Okay, whether he killed himself or was killed, I think he's dead. I was reasonably sure. I was never much of he's still alive per se. I mean, I was fine with that if he was, but I never thought it needed to be. I felt like, if anything, he was a loose end, and so I found it odd that he might be alive. He was for sure somebody I figured they were going to off in jail. When he died in jail, I was like, that's what I expected. So I know a lot of people, we've been saying forever that he didn't die. Jeff Epstein didn't kill himself is what a lot of people say, which, again, implies he was murdered. Could possibly have been his cellmate. We don't know. Doesn't look like anybody came in or out of the door, but again, it's weird that one of the new videos we're seeing or images we're seeing looks like a totally different door than the door they showed us in the past. I'm wondering which ones are which. So again, I feel like they had one image of the hallway that showed from, like, I don't know, a few doors down of Epstein's door. So if anyone would have come in or out of Epstein's room, it would have been shown, and nobody seemed to. But it doesn't mean the person inside there didn't off him. Could have been offered money by somebody to kill him, right? So again, I'm not trying to piss on people, because people get very pissed. This is another one of these topics where people in the MAGA world have their minds made up, and anything that says otherwise, it's got to be wrong. And I take everything with what have I actually seen with my own eyes, which is very little, and what we believe has happened. Well, a lot of that has been information warfare. We've had people lying to us, and we've had people telling us lies, and then some stuff we've been able to figure out. So again, to assume everything we believe, that's another fallacy that I think a lot of us MAGA people live under, is that all conspiracy theories are correct, and they're definitely not. A lot of them are. Many of them have proven to be. Not all of them. There's plenty of stupid ones, and there's some that we don't know for sure, just to have fun with one of the greatest examples, flat earth, round earth, right? Like, I personally haven't seen it with my own eyes. I don't know. Haven't been to Antarctica, One day I'd like to go, though. I think that'd be kind of cool, but all said, no pun intended there either. All said, yeah. So here's Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt talking about this and basically saying, yeah, this is what they're saying. Again, word choice is very important. Please pay attention to word choice. That's what they're saying. What they're saying, I believe, is true. That doesn't mean all this other stuff. A lot of people want to put extra words. So what you're telling me is, no, what they're saying is exactly the words they use. That's what they said. What they're telling you is not even on the table. They're not telling us anything. They're saying specific words because they have to. There's been an investigation. They've got to somehow get out from underneath this investigation that either A, would incriminate many, which some believe, sure, that's very possible, or there's a lot of people that have been there truly and haven't done anything wrong. So, don't know. I'm going to tell you guys all. I'm going to keep my mind open until we know for sure. I take them at the words they use, and I think the words are super important. All said. Here we go.
Of what happened.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Follow up on that,
Sure.
Caroline. Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network, on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. They promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
Again, I think the words are important, right? And the list, I mean, again, there was a lot of things on her desk. So whatever. I don't, I don't really care, frankly, what others think, but I just try my best to help people and guide you, because I know a lot of us will, just jump onto things and we'll hold that flag hard no matter what. And it's like, we probably should move the flag a little bit over here because I don't think this is the best place for it, right? Tech billionaire Elon Musk trolled President Trump early Monday with a post knocking the administration for making no arrests related to the Jeffrey Epstein case. I guess he posted something. The official Jeffrey Epstein pedophile arrest counter set to 0000. What's the time? What's the time? Oh, look, it's no one has been arrested o'clock again, right? So anyway, Musk is pissed about that as well. Now, we obviously know he was trying to accuse Trump of being on Epstein's plane, which is interesting. Epstein's Zorro Ranch had computer rooms the size of houses to spy on guests, including Prince Andrew, victims claim. Now, the victims probably weren't really that high up the food chain when it came to it. Former employee Maria Farmer, she's alleging footage would include the Duke's York alleged 7-day stay. I'm not saying it didn't. I think he did. I think he had all sorts of stuff that was used to blackmail people. Was it used specifically by Epstein to blackmail people? Or did the deep state have access to this information that Epstein was just a middleman for? Epstein had this island. Epstein got to fly around in these jets. Epstein got to get massages and everything from everyone, right? He was living, I guess, an interesting life. And he was just trying to attract people into giving up secrets to whoever was his superior. Again, the words they use, they didn't have any evidence that Epstein was blackmailing anyone. That doesn't mean what Epstein had wasn't being used to blackmail. The deep state was using Epstein. Epstein was just a pawn. Epstein didn't have any real power himself. Epstein, that's why I didn't see any reason for him to be alive. He didn't really know anything. In fact, I doubt very much he knew who his handlers were. I just don't think things are like a lot of us assume. Google's going big on nuclear fusion. This is interesting. Fusion's very different than current nuclear plants. Fission is what nuclear plants typically use right now. Fission's a lot more dangerous. Fusion's a lot easier to control and shut down. It requires high temperature, don't get me wrong, but fusion doesn't happen unless you've got high temperature. Fission, if it runs away, creates higher and higher and higher and higher temperatures. Fusion, on the other hand, does create energy when you fuse, but you got to have it kind of pretty hot already, and then it starts to allow for it. It's also got to be a plasma. So you can shut down a lot of things and actually start to really just fizzle out fusion. So it's kind of an interesting, a little bit safer approach to nuclear. It's good to know anyways. Superintelligence is never going to arrive. This is a really good article. I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. It's just got a lot of limitations. AI is really good at doing calculations. AI is really good at pulling information together, but it's got a lot of limitations. Training sets, a lot of the stuff that's being trained on now, new generations of AI, a lot of that information is stuff that original AIs have already made in error. So they call it, a hallucinogen. They call it like it hallucinates. But there's a lot of wrong information, fake information, a lot of problems from that standpoint. AI lacks common sense. There was a great experiment they did. They had like a teapot, they had a ruler, and they had like a wash machine. And they gave this to like 3 to 7 year olds, and they gave it to AI. And they said, which one of these would you use to make a circle? AI looked at the ruler and says, well, rulers are used for, drafting and drawing. So it tried to make a circle with a ruler and wasn't able to. The children looked at the teapot and noticed it had a round bottom. So they took the teapot, set it on paper, and traced the bottom. They made a circle. AI could not. 3 to 7 year olds outperformed AI because it can't think like that. It can't reason. It doesn't have perception. It can't really create. All it can do is pull what exists already. This idea that AI is alive is somewhat absurd. It only exists in our head. The only stuff I've actually come across from anybody is channeled information that says that there's some AI that runs the universe and that's what's actually controlling everything here. I don't really subscribe to that. I'm not scared of AI for the main reasons that this article points out. AI is not that good. It'll be able to do some awesome stuff. It'll be able to help tremendously. It is not going to replace people. It's not going to try to kill us. It's not going to go Skynet. It's not going to become self-aware. It just won't. It doesn't have a soul. It can't. It can only pull information. They can try to build personalities into it. That's programming. That's not the AI figuring it out. That's people programming it so it seems like it's conscious. Part of it is to help with robots that are going to be like helpers at homes, because you want one with a personality. It'll be needed. But it still doesn't mean it's going to have original thoughts. And again, we'll see, right? For all the people that said, Dan, you don't know that. You're right, but you don't either. None of us do. Why do we have to assume it's the worst? We're going through a change right now where God's winning. Why don't we assume that things are going to work out for the best? Because everything seems to be right now, doesn't it? And we're taking control of the AI, not the deep state. The deep state would have used it against us, to monitor us, to try to hold us down, for bots, and to try to push narratives. But they don't have that ability. They don't control the big enough pieces to be able to do that. So please be just careful, right? Careful on jumping into some of these crazy waters. Let's let things kind of progress a little bit and see and enjoy, rather than instantly assume everything's going to be used to kill us. This is a new thing with Gen Z and younger generations, I guess, in the workplace. I think this is just weird, so I just thought it was fun to bring up. They call it bathroom camping, and there's this TikToker that spends a lot of time talking about this and how he's been doing this for 20 years now. And the bathroom is his favorite room in the house. He'll literally just go in there for hours at a time, a couple hours. It says if he gets overstimulated in some weird way in his life, or if he feels overstimulated at home, he goes into the bathroom as a safe space. This is what's happened to a whole generation of people, by the way. Just very strange to me. Very common, I guess. I could see it at work, going in, wasting 30 minutes in work. But some people are doing this at work and just going in. They're not going to the bathroom. They're literally just going in there, hanging out, getting on the phone or doing whatever. But they're overstimulated or whatever, so they need a break. And they're spending, I don't know, hours a day not being productive. Wing flap fell off a Boeing plane again. It was a trailing edge of the wing flap, and it was when the flaps go all the way out. There's in the center part, there's this little bit that sticks out a little further. That's what it looked like to me, was that piece. Again, not cool when parts of a plane fall off. It landed on a driveway, thank God. Didn't hit anyone else or hurt anything. But it also is something that wouldn't necessarily keep a plane from landing, though it won't take off again with that missing, that's for sure. But yeah, another mishap for sure. Space Shuttle Discovery, they're going to be moving that from the Smithsonian Institute over to Houston, Texas. Interestingly, where I was just at. But they've got the Space Center out there. One of the guys that was visiting for my show said he actually had a chance to get out there to the Johnson Space Center. That would be so cool. I wish I would have had time for that. That would have been neat. But maybe one of these days I'll get back out to Houston for another reason and maybe build an extra day in there so I can check that out and not come out on a holiday for that matter too. That'd probably be a smarter move, but that'll be kind of groovy. We've got another little interstellar object that's coming through. After reading a very long article, long story short, it seems as though this quite possibly is a comet. It's still quite a ways out. Some people think they're starting to see the coma and the tail, but whatever. It is going to come in between, barely, it's not even going to make it all the way as close as Mars, just shy of Mars's orbit. So it's not going to get anywhere near the Earth. We'll maybe be able to see it in the sky with the naked eye, though maybe not. It's not real big. If the tail gets long enough, we, again, might notice it. I think people are just trying to make a big deal about this. They keep comparing this to the Oumuamua, which many saw change direction and did some very strange stuff. So a lot of people think that was actually possibly intelligently controlled. And that would make sense to actually have something that looked like that to us. Law of Confusion would be totally cool with something that looks like a big rock and technically could be a ship. And they had one other one too. I forget the name of the third thing. Or the second one, I guess, that initially came through. There was a Muamua, and there was one other one. Sorry, it was the first time I'd actually heard of this particular asteroid or whatever it was. Whatever the case is. Yeah, it is what it is. Not that big a deal. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about, but it is one of the things we're going to be hearing about. There is discovery going on to a small extent. I love you guys. A lot going on. I was surprised how much news there was today. I was figuring this would be a shorter show. Usually it is on Monday. But again, I went from a long week to a few days off to trying to catch up, and I feel like I'm caught up today. Hopefully you guys enjoy the music show I got coming up. I'm going to do a 4 for Friday. I'll let you guys know who the artists are. Essentially, it's going to be a band, and then I break it into their solo stuff. So that's kind of how I'm going to do it. Not always. Sometimes I'll just do 4 different groups, 4 songs from each. But this particular time, it is technically 4 different groups, but it's one group and then a bunch of their solo peeps. I think you guys are going to very much enjoy it. And like I said, I'll plug that when I get a little closer. And still got to record my Law of One stuff for the week, but it's Monday and I got some time. But yeah, we're going to work through that. I'm looking forward to getting back into Law of One with you guys on Thursday. That's my live show at 3 o'clock. Both Thursday and Friday, 3 o'clock shows, Pacific time, 6 Eastern. Again, 5 Central, 4 Mountain time. Yeah, Thursday is Law of One. Friday is the music. Just to keep it confusing and easy. But I love you guys. We're going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep fighting the fight. We're going to keep walking shoulder to shoulder. I hope anyways. You guys have been doing a bang-up job, and it's you guys that are making the difference. I'm just helping. It's you guys that are doing this. Where we go one, we go all. It's on the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.